From the time Ilara could walk, she roamed these foothills with her pa. When the mountain lions moved through the chaparral, or a fawn stumbled into the meadow, she felt their stories in her bones. The local ranchers thought Harlan Allard mad, letting his little girl wander unsupervised. But he knew those hills had more heart than most folk, and they'd teach her more than any schoolroom ever could. It wasn't all pretty meadows and gentle beasts, though. Winters brought blizzards that buried the Sierra Nevada, cutting them off from road and ranch. Storms like the one that stole Harlan's legs a decade ago. In the aftermath, Harlan grew bitter, nursing grudges against the elements and memories. But Ilara, then 9, found solace in the smallest wildflowers pushing up through the snow. That day, she told her PA she'd become a vet, mending animals like Bess, the elderly cow they nursed back to health. His response was a brittle laugh and a shake of his head. Don't get your hopes up, Lara. Dreams are for valley girls with soft hands and softer heads. Out here, we work this land, take what it gives us, and hope for a kinder season come spring. Yet Ilara tended her chores, saved every penny and rode shotgun on every trip to Reno, poring over library books while Harlan gambled, hoping luck would change his busted bones. By high school, scholarships offered a way out, a chance to prove her pa wrong. But after graduation, she put college off. College meant leaving. And when the phone rang in the dead of night, it was always some hospital asking if Harlan had taken his morphine and set the house aflame. Sometimes she wondered if her heart broke for herself or just for her pa. This year, though, she'd finally applied for the state scholarship for rural kids. She wrote about rescuing an orphaned fawn and bringing it back to health, tucking it in at night to keep it warm. She didn't tell them about the days she'd tucked in her PA, too, whispering stories of the deer they'd nursed back to health. The morning the letter arrived, Ilara was saddled up, helping Mrs. Henderson wrangle her flock of sheep. When she read, "Dear Miss Allard, due to the exceptional circumstances detailed in your application, an essay, the committee has awarded you the full scholarship," her gloved hands trembled. She reread the paragraph about her storm, about waking in the night to Harlan shouting for help, rushing into the burning barn to save the horses. But it was the line, as dawn broke. Ilara carried her unconscious father from the wreckage and made a bed for him beneath the oak tree until help arrived. That must have swayed them. When Ilara found Pa, he'd inhaled too much smoke and passed out. Years of resentment and regret etched hard lines on his face, his beard and his clothes singed. She set him under the oak tree, wrapped a blanket around him, and stayed awake, telling him stories of the wildlife they'd saved together. He awoke, disoriented, but as soon as he saw Ilara, his eyes cleared. "You shouldn't have risked your life," he croaked. "I wasn't thinking of myself," she whispered. Exhaustion pulling at her eyelids. You know, I never got to finish high school, let alone college. Your mama ran off to Vegas. Didn't have no use for a crippled man and a ranch that wasn't making money. You stuck around, tending this place and taking care of me, even when you could have gone somewhere else, someone else. That shows character, Lara. Don't waste it. And now, here was the scholarship. A chance at life outside the ranch, maybe even happiness. Then Pa would have to start looking after himself. How could she leave him? As if reading her mind, Harlan continued, You can do both, you know. Go to school. Take care of me. I just need someone to pick up the slack. Doc Ramirez said he'd help out, and you can always hire someone to milk the cows. Hope bloomed in her chest, a wildflower pushing through concrete. The next night, after tucking in her Pa, Elara drove to Reno to check into her dorm. A chill wind blew across the parking lot, tugging at her jacket. But she felt warmer inside, lighter somehow. Maybe the scholarship was about more than just her. Maybe it was about giving Bess, the aging cow, a fighting chance at another winter. Maybe it was about buying new textbooks for the grade school library in exchange for a basketball hoop. Maybe it was about proving to her PA, even if he never admitted it, that dreams mattered. Her own room was cramped and utilitarian, with a trundle bed, a desk, and a window overlooking the parking lot. Nothing like the sprawling vistas of home, but it was hers. She unpacked, hung up her denim jacket, and lay down on the narrow bed. Suddenly overwhelmed. What if she couldn't hack it? What if she failed? What if her Pa got worse? Her throat tightened and tears pricked her eyes. She pushed them back, swallowed her fear, and got to work. She studied, earning straight A's in her biology class and getting a research job in the campus animal lab. On weekends, she returned home, helped out on the ranch, and made sure her PA took his medicine on time. He never asked how school was going, but she could tell he was watching her, gauging whether she'd amount to anything. It was harder than she expected. There were nights she wanted to throw up her hands and quit. Nights she dreamed of running the hills barefoot, or nights she woke in a panic at the sound of thunder. But each morning she'd rise with the sun, tend the chickens, mend fences, and drive to campus, carrying the weight of her responsibilities like a shield. Her sophomore year, her P had a bad fall and broke his hip. Elara rushed home from exams, traded her textbooks for work boots, and cared for him. Those weeks were hell, watching him suffer, helpless, knowing that if she left, there'd be no one. But she still had classes to attend and labs to work in. So she made do, wheeling him to the porch to watch the sunrise, talking to him about everything and nothing. Slowly, his breathing evened. His skin lost its waxen pallor, and color returned to his cheeks. After he was well enough to be alone, she went back to school, more determined than ever to make a life for herself, for Bess, for Pa. But college was expensive, even with the scholarship. Working part-time wasn't enough. She needed something more. One night in the campus animal lab, she discovered a new research project studying the effects of climate change on migratory birds. Dr. Lewis, the lead researcher, was renowned in the field and notoriously difficult to work for. But his research focused on raptors, the same birds Ilara had tracked as a kid. Hoping for more hours, she threw her hat in the ring. To her surprise, she got the position. The project involved banding and tracking swallows and falcons, observing their behavior and testing their blood. The field work took them to the mountains, to the desert, and to marshes where the swallows nested. There, amidst the beauty of nature and the thrill of discovery, Ilara excelled. She learned to fly drones, track satellite signals, and decipher the nuances of bird calls. Dr. Lewis was impressed with her diligence, but kept her on a tight leash, barking orders and demanding perfection. Yet, slowly, a grudging respect grew between them. Once, when a storm threatened to derail their work, Lewis watched Ilara set up camp. The next morning, he joined her for breakfast, their silence punctuated only by the crackle of the fire. Finally, he grunted, "Your father was right. This land's got more heart than the rest of the world combined." He explained that he'd known Harlan in a different time, back when Harlan had dreamed of becoming a park ranger. As the weeks passed, Ilara found herself opening up to Dr. Lewis, not just about birds, but about her studies, her ranch, and her fears. He listened, offering advice, a word of caution, or just a pat on the shoulder. For a fleeting moment, she felt like she had a second mentor, a father figure who understood her passion and shared her love for the wild places. When fall rolled around, Ilara faced a difficult choice. Dr. Lewis offered her a full-time position in his lab, but her PA needed her. So she turned him down, deciding to focus on her studies and wait until spring break to return home. On her first day back, she found Harlan in the barn holding a tiny, shivering kitten. Found her stuck in a rafter, he explained, his gruff voice softening. Thought you might want to see her. Over the next few days, Ilara nursed the kitten back to health. As it played, batting at her fingers and purring like a rusty tractor, she realized that sometimes healing meant more than mending a broken bone or saving a drowning fawn. Sometimes it meant offering a little warmth to a tiny, scared creature and letting it grow into its own story. Later, when she stood on the porch watching the sunset, she understood. Her journey wasn't about escaping the storm. It was about learning to dance in it. She was a child of the mountains, and her dreams like the condors circling overhead, soared with the wind.